And welcome back to an all-new episode of Buckets and Dimes, Nuts and Bolts Sports NBA Podcast. Great to be back with you again this week. Of course, I'm Joe Cardoza, joined as always by Patrick Hillwig. Pat, what up, man?
Not too much, man. Just enjoying this beautiful weather outside right now. Some big games over this past week, a couple of injuries, and some good stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, we are definitely in the playoff push. I want to say we have less than 20 games for some teams already left in the season. You're right about the weather. Up here in the D.C. area, it's been super cold and windy, and today we got a little taste of spring, even though I feel like everyone's so drowsy from losing that hour of sleep. Everybody seems like they're a little bit off.
Yeah, it's not quite here. That cold weather's going to be coming. I mean, it actually snowed the other day, which I couldn't really believe. It just out of the middle of nowhere, it just started snowing. But hey, that's Maryland for you. One day it's 70 degrees, the next day it's 22.
Truer words could not have been spoken. But the weather podcast is for a different station on a different day. We are NBA basketball fans. We're here to talk about NBA basketball. Let's kick this thing off with our weekly top 10, where Pat and I discuss the top 10 teams in our opinion in the NBA right now. I'll go ahead and kick things off, and my top four kind of stays the same teams, just different rankings week to week. I got the Bucks at 1, Golden State at 2, the Toronto Raptors are 3, Denver Nuggets are 4. I have the Utah Jazz coming in at 5, Portland Trail Blazers at 6. I have the Houston Rockets at 7, the Clippers at 8. Oklahoma City had a rough week, so I have them at 9. And then I had a tough time at 10. I have 2. I know it's a cop-out. I have the Philadelphia 76ers, and I have winners of 5 straight games. I have the Detroit Pistons as my 10B for my top 10 this week.
Alrighty then, starting it off on fire. I like it. Mine usually we're about the same this week. I think either we're watching different games or our opinions are really just showing. Because I think we're pretty much spot on the first 3: the Bucks, the Raptors, and the Warriors. I got the Warriors coming in at 3. They're 5-5 in the last 10 games. They've had a couple of rough games lately. But I've got the Rockets at 4, all the way up at 4. They won 7 in a row. They got wins over the Sixers, the Raptors, the Celtics, and the Warriors. These are all big playoff, caliber teams. So I've got the Rockets at 4. The Nuggets slipped down a little bit to 5. The Blazers, you mentioned it before we got on here, man. The Blazers are just, they're just slowly but surely just staying in there in the Western Conference, and hopefully they can pull out a first round win this season, because they're fun to watch. And then I got the Philadelphia 76ers coming in at 7. Yes, I do have the Boston Celtics in my top 10 this week at 8. The Utah Jazz at 9, and I'm with you. I couldn't decide on my 10th spot. I couldn't leave the Thunder out of the top 10 because they're just that good. But I'm with you, man. The not the Utah Jazz. Sorry, the Detroit Pistons, 5 wins in a row. They're up to, I believe, 7 spot in the Eastern Conference. They got wins over the Raptors, the Pacers, the Heat. I mean, they're playing probably some of the best basketball out there right now. So I definitely had to put them in there as well.
Yeah, actually, Detroit's the 6th seed right now in the Eastern Conference. We've been talking about it all season long. We know that 6 through 8 in the East is going to be a dogfight to the bitter end. You have Orlando knocking on the door. The Hornets aren't totally out of it. We won't even discuss the Wizards, but we know that 6 through 10 in the Eastern Conference. If somebody gets on a run here or gets in a slump, things can change pretty quickly. So that's our weekly top 10 for this week. Always a fun time to discuss that and kind of see where we're at on things. And obviously, as we get down to the end of the season, we're starting to really narrow down the teams that we know are going to execute, make it to the playoffs, and make things interesting. Sliding over to our news and notes, like Pat said at the top of the show. A lot of things going on in the NBA this week. We have some teams that decided, hey, look, season's not going the way we want it to go. We have some guys that have kind of been battling injuries. Looking forward to next season. We'll go ahead and shut these guys down, let them get healthy, and have a productive summer. We're talking about Los Angeles Lakers, as Lonzo Ball had that ankle injury. He's been out for a while. He's been shut down for the rest of the year. And on a serious note, all injuries are serious, but this is a much seriouser injury in my opinion. You have Brandon Ingram, who's playing some of the best basketball of his career lately. He's going to be out for the rest of the season with blood clots in his right arm. Pat and I know, being fans of Chris Bosh, how that kind of ended Chris Bosh's career. So we definitely want to send our thoughts and prayers to Brandon Ingram. Wish him the best. Joel Embiid came back today, and what was his stat line for his first game back today, Pat?
The first game back, man, I just looked it up. 33 points, 12 rebounds in just 28 minutes. Came back strong.
For those who don't remember, at the beginning of the year, I had him as my MVP winner. He's been gone for a while, so I know he lost a lot of steam when it comes to MVP talk, but I'm just saying. So you had Joel Embiid come back last night with a really fun game with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Washington Wizards going to overtime. Karl Anthony Towns went out with a right knee injury. He's going to have to get an MRI in that knee, and I'll have to see what the extent of that injury is. Of course, we wish him the best. A big part of that T-Wolves team. They're trying to make a real late push and try to see if they can sneak into the Western Conference playoffs, and it's going to be a lot easier if they can have him suiting up for them. You saw the Golden State Warriors getting a blast from the past. He just finished his season over in Australia. Golden State has signed Andrew Bogut. So now you got Boogie Cousins, you got Andrew Bogut, who we know, screen and roll, agitator, a guy that can get people's skin. The Warriors the rich get richer as the Golden State Warriors add Andrew Bogut to their lineup. And then we also had one of our favorites, Pat and I, ball don't lie, Rasheed Wallace, named the head basketball coach of a local high school in Durham, North Carolina as well. So it's a pretty fun stuff there. I know you also have some news and notes and tidbits you wanted to share as well, Pat.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Of course, we want to, the Raptors actually clinched a playoff spot as well, so they're in there in the Eastern Conference. We want to shout out to Dirk. We talk about, some of the greats, but Dirk just passed John Stockton for all-time games played.
Wow.
1,505 is where Dirk is at now. Robert Parrish actually leads it with 1,611. Right, so, is he going to play next year? He's kind of come out and said, it depends on how his body feels. He still might play next year, but it looks like this could be his last year. So that definitely give a shout out to him. Really want to kind of give a shout out to Bradley Beal. I saw this stat, and when I saw it, it really just made me have to put it in here because when you talk about great players, you talk about players like Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson. Well, for the month of February, and we talked about Beal a lot in the month of February, but for the month of February, he's one of 4 players to average 30 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, shoot 50% from the field, as well as 90% from the free throw line in 1 month, and only 4 players total have done that. So I got to give a shout out to Bradley Beal. Hit a big shot last night to put the game into overtime. They did lose that game, but he's really balling this year for us. And then that's pretty much it. We went over everything else. Like I said, we talked about Rasheed Wallace and Stockton. So yeah.
Yeah, Bradley Beal, man, the heart and soul of that Wizards team this year. And that Andrew Bogut signing is one of those ones that somewhere during the course of the playoffs, I won't be surprised if you see him make a play or do something that makes you say, okay, that's the reason why they signed him. And he's a guy that's going to maybe, it might not, I'm not talking about game-winning shot or anything crazy like that, but the Andrew Bogut signing will prove to be beneficial to Golden State somewhere during the course of the playoffs. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could never go wrong adding some nice depth to your bench, especially with the Warriors. Most of their starters, they play quite a bit of minutes. To give them, to give somebody like Boogie Cousins a little bit of time, and have a guy like Bogut come in, somebody that has been there and done it before. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
And then LeBron James also, too, we talked about last show getting close to it. Well, he actually did it. Past Michael Jordan. He is now the 4th all-time leading scorer in the NBA, so salute to LeBron James for that as well. Let's talk about the Lakers just real quick, Pat, man. I mean, like we said, Lonzo Ball, because of the injury, shut down. Brandon Ingram. LeBron James, to me, at least the games I've seen since he's come back, does not look like he's 100% healthy. They're not going to make the playoffs. A lot on the table there for the Lakers this offseason. I mean, obviously, I think, in my opinion, I feel like everyone's a target to get traded at the Lakers team this year. We'll have to see what happens there. I mean, I heard something crazy. Jeff Van Gundy saying everybody should be on the table, including LeBron James. But we know Jeff Van Gundy is known for his outrageous statements. That might be one of the most outrageous statements I've ever heard. But kind of just looking at that team, we know it's over for them as far as playoffs this year. What are your thoughts on, I guess, first of all, playoffs in the NBA without LeBron James being in it, and then the Lakers?
It's something that we haven't had to think about in a really long time. I believe it was his 2nd season, I think, in the league. Was the only time he ever missed the playoffs. And the fact that he's been to the finals, so 7 years in a row.
8 years in a row,
yeah. So it's just one of those things where you take it for granted when it happens constantly and over and over and over again, you just take it for granted. So it's definitely going to be interesting. It gives everybody in the league a chance because, I mean, we all know what playoff LeBron is like. He can flip that switch and he can take a team from down 10 to up 12 in less than 5 minutes. I mean, that's just what he's capable of doing. But you talked about it. You look at their roster. Rajon Rondo, I like Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo can hit the shots, but he's also always had this thing where he goes into his own head, and you saw him. He was
sitting the other day.
Yes, he was sitting. He was sitting with the fans courtside because he didn't want to sit with his teammates.
And said it wasn't the only time he's done it this season.
Right. So I mean,
which I didn't even know. That's crazy.
Well, when he was with Dallas, he had that spat with Carlisle as well.
Yeah.
So he's known to kind of just do his own thing sometimes. So when you have your starting point guard that's not on the, not with the team and not with the program, it definitely, it'd be like a quarterback that couldn't throw the ball, and you could just line up and you knew he was going to run it every time because he can't throw the ball because he just can't throw it. So you got to have a good point guard lead your team. Lonzo Ball injury with the ankle, that derailed him. I mean, not that he's a major superstar, but they played pretty well with him on the court, I believe.
I saw a lot of improvement from him this season in the games he played, for sure.
Yeah, well, with Ball, Ingram, and LeBron on the court playing together, the team went 15-8 when all three played together. So, they definitely were good together. Brandon Ingram, that's big. That's real big, and not just for the fact that a team that's not going to make the playoffs and they're missing a guy, but that's big because that's career. I mean, I personally have a family member that dealt with the blood clots thing, and it's a scary thing. It really makes you kind of question a lot of stuff. And kind of make sure that you're good where you're at and everything. So I hope he gets back to health and playing basketball again. But you never know with that kind of injury. But they do got some young players. I like Kyle Kuzma a lot. You and I can't praise him enough.
Protect Kyle Kuzma at all costs. Right. I say it every week.
Right. But then you just got a kind of a hodgepodge of players. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't really. When they put that roster together, hoping that LeBron James was going to take a bunch of guys that were okay where they were at. They had their Lance Stevenson. He had his spats where he did really good, and then he just had weird. What the heck?
Heard his name in a month.
Right. So you kind of. I don't know if they just were like hoping that they would just all come together or what, or that LeBron could be the one missing piece that could bring all those guys together. But it just seemed like too hodgepodge. It didn't seem like they really got any other necessary superstars, which obviously is what they're going to attempt to do next year. But man, with the Clippers and the push that they're making right now, with what Brooklyn's doing right now, with the Knicks, I mean the Lakers, they're going to have it. Nobody's just going to come to the Lakers because LeBron's there, especially after what happened this year. Yeah,
it's definitely going to be a big important summer for this franchise. I mean, I know a lot of people thought last summer because of the Kawhi Leonards, the LeBron James being available, that was the biggest summer for the Lakers. I think this summer, for the New York Knicks and for the Los Angeles Lakers, this summer coming up is the biggest summer these franchises have had in a really long time, because it's the chance for them to get a key marquee player and kind of put themselves on that path towards talking about championship basketball, which is what we all want. Something else, too, I wanted to talk about really quick before we got into the Hillary report is Steph Curry, man. This guy does a lot of stuff off the court that's talked about or not talked about enough, in my opinion. Of course, a couple of months ago, he had that young lady, Riley Morrison, who had asked him why his shoes only come in boy sizes and not girl sizes. Steph Curry obviously received that letter, reached out to her. Not only did he reach out to the young lady, but he had her help design a shoe. He also had his daughter do the insole of that shoe as well. So that was released on International Women's Day. It is the United We Win collection. So that's pretty cool. And the best part about that, in my opinion, is Steph Curry's even making a profit off of this shoe. It's going to all go toward a scholarship fund, which will go to a young lady in the Bay Area to help her pay for college. So once again, Steph Curry, man, just doing the right thing.
Yep, I actually saw they did a little thing on ESPN last week, and I had heard the story, but when I actually saw the little thing they did on ESPN, I mean, he literally, the dad or whatever saw the letter, posted it on Twitter, and then, of course, Steph Curry responded back, and he was like, wait, what? Like, Steph Curry actually responded back? And then he sent her a pair of shoes, and then Christmas time, he sent her a package with 2 pairs of shoes and a whole bunch of other Under Armour stuff as well. So, I mean, he definitely went above and beyond, and the fact that after all that, he brought her in to help him